like Janessa said, my name is David Holewinski, and I am I'm loud right now. I am the treasurer of Restoration Church, and obviously the fill-in preacher when Kevin is out fundraising. I have, just to introduce myself, I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I moved here about 15 years ago. I mean, yeah, who wouldn't move from Wisconsin to Florida? So I did make a good decision, I think. I have a beautiful wife, Lisa, and 2 children, Evelyn and Evan. And I was thinking the other day about Kevin and myself, because I'm going to be, filling in for Kevin here. And Kevin and I have a lot of things in common, a lot of things. And it's kind of scary. We're kind of like almost the same person. I mean, there's so much about Kevin and I that are the same. We both love sports. We both love to surf. Someday we're going to go surfing together. We both married way out of our leagues. We're in way over our heads with our wives. We both have 2 kids, boy and a girl. The girl's older, boy's younger. The girls go to the same school, and the boys go to the same school. So I see Kevin quite a bit, dropping off and picking up kids. But there's one glaring, it's totally obvious. If you spend any amount of time with Kevin and I, we're completely different in this one area. And you might not know what it is, but I wear socks, and Kevin does not wear socks. So I don't know what it is about Washington. I've never been there, but clearly you don't need to wear socks in Washington. If I ever visit there and I forget my socks, Janessa, is that right? I will fit right in. It's not going to be a problem. Kevin had talked about in the past about Toastmasters. I mentioned a story about a gentleman named Al who had given a speech at Toastmasters, and basically he had told us that he has Parkinson's. It was a pretty powerful speech. I don't know if you know too much about Toastmasters, but I've been a member for about 1.5 years now. And Toastmasters is a speech club. We join it I guess we're crazy because we want to give public speeches. I don't know. But anyways, it's a speech club, and Kevin has mentioned it in the past. And I just really enjoy going there and being at Toastmasters. And I had asked Kevin about 6 months ago, I said, hey, why don't you check out Toastmasters with me? And we go to the Palm Harbor location. They're all over the world, basically, Toastmasters. And so for some reason he said, yes, I'll check it out. And then for some reason he joined, and I'm thinking, you are like the poster child for public speaking. I don't know what you think you're going to get at Toastmasters, but maybe you just want to see like what the everyday man is like, typical person who fears public speaking more than they fear death. But anyways, Kevin joined, and everyone is on a different journey when you join Toastmasters. We all come from different places, and we all are learning and providing value. So it's a really good time. But there's something at Toastmasters, when you sign up or you want to join a club, you work up enough courage to put your name on the schedule, and you're going to give your first speech. And that first speech is called an icebreaker. And it's basically just a way that we get to know you. It's a way that we can find out a little bit more about you and kind of learn about who you are and what you do. So you sign up for this first speech, and really it's 4 to 6 minutes. It basically can be about anything that you want it to be about. It can be about what you had for breakfast that morning. It can be about, just tell us a story. Just get up here, get up in front of people and just talk. And who better to give a talk about yourself than yourself, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. And so at Toastmasters, I've seen quite a few of these icebreaker speeches, and they're very interesting. It's very interesting to learn about people when they come up. But at Toastmasters, well, actually, Jerry Seinfeld had said something pretty funny that Kevin mentioned to me, and I guess a survey or people are surveyed, and I guess people are more fearful of public speaking than they are of dying. So if you go to a funeral, you would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, if you think about that. But people give their at Toastmasters, they give their icebreaker speech, and they talk about who they are, and they kind of talk about what they do. But it's really hard to find out who a person is just from 4 to 6 minutes. I mean, you have to really kind of get to know somebody, kind of learn about, their story and things like that. And we kind of have a little joke at our Toastmasters Club in that after you give your first speech, I mean, first of all, it's very important to know about who you are, but also you didn't die. So you came up there, you gave a speech, and you're okay. You say, look, I'm done with my speech. I did my speech. I'm still here. It wasn't that bad, right? So it's not bad. I mean, you go up and you give a speech, and then you also get evaluated. So, I mean, you're done with your speech and you think you're all done, but then somebody comes up and evaluates you. And they tell you, basically, we're just trying to improve on our public speaking. We want to become better. And so they give, a lot of positive recommendations. I mean, here's what you did well, here's what you could do a little better. But usually when an evaluator comes up, they'll say, okay, you did a good job with this and that, but you didn't die, which is good. So looking forward to seeing your next speech. You should be a little better every time. So this is kind of my icebreaker. This is my first time doing this. Probably not very good. The only guarantee I have for you today is that we might get done a little early. I don't know if anybody has a problem with that, let me know. Janessa will refund your money, or she'll give you a donut. But for some reason, Kevin left me with the keys to the car today, and hopefully I can do a good job. So, but I talked a little bit about who you are and what you do. And a lot of times those things get intertangled and twined. And really, they shouldn't. We need to separate them. We need to separate our identity as people in Jesus Christ than what we do, our occupations, our roles, the different things, the different roles we take on in life. And we all have different roles. But if you've been following us for any sort of time, we are still in Acts. And we're eventually, probably in a year or two, going to get through Acts. But we're in Acts still, and I'd like to start off with Acts 10:1. And it's on the screen there, but basically what's going on is there is a gentleman named Cornelius in Acts. And this is a really interesting verse. I think this is really powerful, and let me tell you why. Because at first, this gentleman Cornelius, he's a Roman soldier, and it says, at Caesarea, there was a man named Cornelius, a centurion in what was known as the Italian regiment. And what that means is he was pretty high up in the Roman army. He wasn't just a regular soldier, he was pretty high up. And in Rome, they weren't really into this whole Jesus thing very much, as you know. They weren't. So Cornelius is pretty high up in the Roman army. And then it also says, it says, he and all his family were devout and God-fearing, and he gave generously to those in need and prayed to God regularly. So this is interesting because the first sentence there talks about what he does. That's what he does. He is a soldier in the Roman army. But the second line there, it starts with he and all his family. That's who he is. That's who he is as a person. And so it's nice to be able to separate those two types of things. Usually when I give speeches at Toastmasters, I like to be a little more interactive. I like to engage the audience and stuff like that. And Kevin talked last week a little bit about listening, and we need to be really good listeners. Well, I'm not going to ask you just to listen. I'm asking you to also participate a little bit. And no one's going to have to leave their chair, leave your seat, or anything like that. That's okay. But I am going to send each one of you to a deserted island right now. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right. And what I'd like you to do is, if you'd like to close your eyes, that's fine. I just want you to relax, and hopefully I can relax a little bit as well during this exercise. But hopefully what this exercise is going to do is help you separate your identity from your role as a person. So you're going off to this deserted island now. And the island is about the size of this room. And there is a palm tree over here and a palm tree over there, just two palm trees. And in between those palm trees is a hammock. And I want you to go ahead and I want you to crawl in that hammock. And just try to put away all your troubles of the day. Put everything away. You have nothing, there's nothing to think about, nothing to worry about right now. So settle in a little bit, and now what I want you to do is forget about any roles that you currently have in life. And what I mean by roles is, maybe you're a mother or father, grandfather, grandmother, musician, doctor, lawyer. Anything that you've been born, any roles that you've taken on in life, I want you to forget about those. I want you to leave those behind. There's no little child tugging at your knee. There's no bills to be paid because you're not a homeowner, or nothing at all. And the next part of this exercise, what I want you to do is I want you to put a number between 0 and 10, with 10 being the highest, on how you feel about yourself right now. How do you feel about what's left? Basically, all that's left is your identity. And go ahead and think about that. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is, unfortunately, we have to leave the island. So, if you were sleeping, wake up. Are you okay, Vinny? You're here? Okay, he's here. So, I don't want to know what number you had. It's not important, but I do know that if you did not choose a number 10, that you were wrong. That you were lying to yourself, or you're being lied to. Because every one of you in this room is a 10. And what happens is, we get our roles in life mixed up with our identity in Jesus Christ. And sometimes we're good at our roles, but sometimes we struggle. And how this kind of happens is, maybe as children, we heard things like, did you pick up all your toys? Did you color in between the lines? Did you listen to your teacher? Did you eat all the food off of your plate? And when we did these things, we thought that we were successful, that we were achieving something in this world. And as we got a little older, maybe we heard things like, did you get the job? Did you make the team? And we thought that success in life was the ultimate achievement, that when we were successful, then that's who our identity was as a person. But when you think about it, if that's true, then the opposite has to be true, doesn't it? Maybe we failed at something. Maybe we tried something and it didn't go so well. And then maybe we thought that we were worth less or even worthless. So we stopped taking chances. We stopped trying new things because we got our identity all tied up with our role. The Olympics are going on right now, and I'm sure all of us have been taking that in. There's quite a bit to see in a lot of different sports. And Kevin we had talked about what I was going to talk about up here today, and he had sent me an article about a couple of swimmers, some platform divers. And I thought this was really interesting. I thought it fit very well today, because if you think about Olympic athletes, these are people who are 10 out of 10 on their roles with whatever they're doing. I mean, they are the best of the best. They are the best in the world at what they do. And they had said a couple different quotes that I had, if you could bring them up on the screen here. This guy's name is Steele Johnson, and there's two of them. There's another gentleman, and they're platform divers. So they dive off the platform and they only spin around, and then eventually they go in the water, hopefully with the least amount of splash as possible. But what they had said was, it's cool because this is exciting, this is fun, but this is not what my identity will be for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'm Steele Johnson, the Olympian, but at the same time, I'm here to love and serve Jesus, serve Christ. My identity is rooted in Christ, not in the flips we're doing. That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy who could just basically say, I'm at the top of the world in my profession right now, and I work hard, and I do what I can, and look at me. I mean, he has every right really to say that, but look at what he really said. Look at what he really said. He deflected that and turned it over to Christ. And there's another gentleman who had something as well. His name is David. We can't take the credit for this. God be the glory. This is why we do what we do. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I wanted to share that with you all today. I mean, think about Michael Phelps, the swimmer. I mean, the guy has like 20-some gold medals. I think they said if he was a country, that he would be like 30th in the world. He would have he could be his own country with all the medals he has. And that's a great achievement. And I mean, just look at him. He could basically be like, this is who I am, and this is what I've achieved. But in reality, I like what these guys said a lot better, because they give a little glory to God, and really, isn't that what it's all about? So getting back to Acts, we had seen what Cornelius had said. And just to give you a little bit, because I'm jumping a little farther in this, but Cornelius had a vision, a vision from an angel. And the vision was to send 3 of his servants and to go and get Peter and bring Peter back to him. So, and also Peter had this same vision that someone was going to be coming for him, so he was prepared for it. So what we do is Cornelius sends out these 3 servants. They go and get Peter, and they bring him to Cornelius. And I'd like to this isn't going to be on the screen, but I'd just like to share with you to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about here. So once they went to go and get Peter, the men showed up, and the men replied, "We have come from Cornelius Centurion. He is a righteous and God-fearing man who is respected by all the Jewish people. A holy angel told him to ask you to come to his house so that he could hear what you have to say." Then Peter invited the men into the house to be his guests. The next day, Peter started out with them, and some of the believers from Joppa went along. The following day, he arrived in Caesarea. Cornelius was expecting them and had called together his relatives and close friends. As Peter entered the house, Cornelius met him and fell at his feet. And this is the part that I'd like to point out. But Peter made him stand up. "Stand up," he said. "I am only a man myself." And I thought that was pretty interesting, and it fit very well in what I'm talking about here today, about what Peter says. So Cornelius falls at his feet, and Peter says, "Stand up. I'm nobody important. I'm just a man myself." And I got to thinking, really, Peter, you're just a man? And I wrote down some of the things that Peter has basically accomplished in his life. He was among the first called to be one of Jesus' disciples. He was witness to many of Jesus' miracles. Under the power of the Holy Spirit, he healed sick and he raised people from the dead. He was one of the first to Jesus' tomb on Easter Sunday. And here's the kicker, this is the big one. He walked on water. Peter walked on water, but yet he says this, "Stand up. I am only a man myself." Isn't that what we're all kind of trying to do under our own power, under our own, with our roles in life? We're trying to walk on water. We're trying to make things happen for ourselves. What is your accomplishment that you're looking to try and do in life? What are you trying to succeed at? Are you trying to become a better parent so that all your kids you raise your kids and they're all successful? Are you trying to get that promotion at work, that more pay at your job? Are you trying to become a better student to get all straight A's? And one of the things I'd like you to remember is when Peter walked on water, who was right next to him? Jesus was. Jesus was there with him. And so we can try to do all these things ourselves, but in the end, we need Jesus, and we need to deflect the glory back to Jesus. So we take on a lot of these different roles in life, and we may be really good at them. We may not be very good at some of them. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, because our identity is in Jesus Christ. And there's a Bible verse that kind of came to mind, and I was listening to Moody Radio last week, and they had talked about this, and it's from Ephesians. and it's 2:8-9. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is a gift from God, not by works, so that no one can boast. And like I said, we're trying to achieve all these things in life. We're trying to do this. We're trying so hard. But this kind of really sums it up, at least it did for me, is that we're saved by God's grace. Nothing that we're doing on our own. And I really like the last line. And what they were talking about, they were breaking it down on the radio, was hopefully when we get to heaven, there's not going to be somebody there saying, yes, I did it, I'm here. And that's the reason why. It's not something you did. You can't do it. It's not by works, so you can't boast and say that you did. I'd like to finish up with a story, tell you a little bit more about myself, but I'm in sales, and I had my own business for quite a while, and this most recent job that I had, basically I would go into doctor's offices and do sales, and I would drive around and just walk in places. And there would be a sign right there that say no soliciting, and I just gotta walk right in and go in because it's my job. And some days were better than others. Some days I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go today and I'm gonna get 30 no's. Nailed it. I got all my no's, and that's just a way to kind of shift your mindset to be like, I can do this. I can go out and get a no faster than anyone. Right? So. And some days I would walk in and I would just be like, I'm a salesperson, would you like me to leave right now? And the people would usually crack up. Or I would say, listen, I really don't like doing this. I'm not very good at this. Would it be okay if I just tell you what I do? And it was just a real honest conversation. And those were the ones that were really easy for me. I was just being myself. I was being truthful. I was being honest. But some days were not very easy. And I don't know why. I don't know why some days I woke up, and I still do, and I just struggle. And I don't want to do it. I can't do it, I say. And I'm driving around, and my brain says, all right, pull into this parking lot, but my foot says, we're just going to keep on going. And then other times, I get into the parking lot. And it's like my car door is just welded shut. I can't get out. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it today. But there's always one thought that really comforts me, that really just makes me say, wow, it doesn't matter. And it really is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I go into these places. And if I make and do this and get the sales, it doesn't matter. I have to stop fighting this fight because the fight has already been won. So I would tell myself that and be like, all the pressure would just drop from me. Just go and do what you have to do and need to do, but it doesn't really matter. Stop fighting the fight. It's already been won. So Annie was singing a song in the beginning. And I took down a few notes because it hit me. And it was from You're a Good, Good Father. And it says, it goes like this, I'm loved by you. It's who I am. And that's really all you need to know. Is who are you? You are loved by God. That's who you are. Will you please pray with me? Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together today. Thank you for your word. And Father, I pray that, Father, we don't look at what we do, what we're doing here on earth. But Father, we look at who we are and who we are as a people. And just, Father, help us realize that when things get tough, and maybe things don't go our way, and even when things are going well, Father, just to remember that we're loved by you, Father. That's who we are.